Well, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to come to you today with a quick live video. And I can't share my screen utilizing YouTube's YouTube's camera room. But I wanted to be able to read to you an article where I think that a good portion of people are starting to recognize where we're at in this world. See the room filling up nicely. Wow. Wow. Look at all of you. Try to say hello to some folks. I can't enable a slow chat on this one, but thanks for if you can give me a little indication of where you're watching from, what country, so I can greet some of the other countries that are coming in, even though it's late. So I'm quite sure that most people in Europe are fast asleep. Nigel from China, Virginia from Arizona. Hello to Allison Cooper, Girl with No Name, Spooner, Stick in the Mud. Good to see you, Stick. Deanna, Richard, Daga Shannon, Ting 5106, Jessica, Sherry Sunshine. Good to see you. Lori Little, Rana, Jeannie, Mama Chaos. Good to see Mama Chaos. Eric Moreau, Dwayne Copeland, Irving Flores, David Schultz, Anon Lover, Cherish Thompson, Tracy Invernizzi. Good to see Tracy. The moderators are amazing on this channel. I thank all of you very much. Lori Chavez, thank you. Anti-Popular Girl. So I'm not quite sure. I'll get into this article that I want to read to you, which I think is important to see that people are waking up to the spiritual conditions of this world, that it's not good. And I believe that it is up to us that are awake to change that. Mr. Incredible, Senior Incredible, good to see you. Lynn McGraw, good to see you as well. Carl, hello. Warrior Queen, Stephanie Allen, Stacy Schulten, good to see you as well. MC Hammer. Every time I say that name, I want to do a dance. So I wanted to also, if you do have questions that you think would be helpful for others to hear the answers, please post those in all caps. As I said, I can't share my screen because I'm using YouTube's camera room because I've got some technical issues that I'm dealing with here, that I'm because I'm working on a bunch of different things. I see my mama showing up, Mama B. Mama B is in the house. Love you much, Mama. So Mark, Sinner Saint, good to see you. Christ is risen indeed. Where are the true Gnostics? Well, you have a whole room full of them right now. And Gnostic means wisdom. Gnosis means wisdom. So Gnostics means the wise. So you are wiser for what you know. So I'm not sure whether you have seen it, but I have posted, and I will post a link to it if you have not. So jump into that room if you would, and give a thumbs up on it. Good to see Gordon here as well. Gordon, much love to you. Sean Vest, Steve Conover, Bob Fox, Allison Cameron, Charlene Roon. So if you haven't seen the link, that David Icke is going to be joining me on the 17th. They reached out to me day before yesterday, and we have arranged a time that he can come on the show. I think it's probably going to be an amazing show. Now, I have read many of David's books, and if you haven't, you probably should. He has a tremendous amount of wisdom about all of the ancient texts. He's very well versed on them. He understands exactly what is going on in this world. And so what I wanted to show you today, and I won't take up a tremendous amount of your time today, but on the Drudge Report, which is probably the single most influential site when it comes to setting the tone in this country primarily, and for the most part around the world, in the media. The Drudge Report, Matt Drudge, who I've known and met many, many years ago, has a very unique way of, I would say, manipulating what people see and how they see it. Just by creating headlines. He doesn't create the articles. And by the way, I must say that, I try not to spend a whole lot of time watching or paying attention to the news at all. I don't watch any television whatsoever. But occasionally I go into Drudge to see what precisely is happening in the narrative. And the narrative is very much created by Drudge. But there was an article which I thought was astounding, and it's about something that took place here in Phoenix, Arizona. And the title of the article is "Spiritual Illness is Crippling America." Well, spiritual illness isn't just crippling America, but the world by and large. Although I believe America sets the tone, because America represents all of the monetary systems in the world and is primarily driving it, and as such owns most of the media and decides what is going to be seen or heard. So to me, Matt Drudge putting this up was actually quite astonishing for me, because that Matt would even pay attention to an article such as this. But it is startling, so I'm going to tell you that the content of it is rather disturbing. Because what it's about a woman that gave birth she's a comatose patient that has been comatose for 14 years. So she's been in a coma for 14 years and has a staff of 24-hour care in Phoenix. And she recently gave birth. They didn't know that she was pregnant until she actually went into labor. Now, this is a person that, from a medical standpoint, can hear and can feel pain. So apparently one of the caregivers raped this woman, and it is a indication. These types of stories are indications of spiritual death at levels that people have a difficult time comprehending. And it is startling to me that to show this, I mean, this is something that should be actually known, but it actually sometimes has the opposite impact, because it makes people feel justified in their actions. They think, wow, well, I'm not that bad, so I must be fairly righteous. But we cannot get away from the spiritual conditions. And this is what Christ spoke of when he was speaking of being twice dead. Let the dead bury the dead. Because they were so spiritually dead that there was no recovering them. And that he was indicating to you to focus on yourself, not others, because focusing on somebody else's spiritual condition never will help you lift your spiritual condition. Pointing out the inadequacies of other people will never, ever honestly make you feel better. It might give you a temporary satiation where you can read this article and feel better about yourself, that at least you're not like this person. But it's never going to fulfill you. It is never going to take the place of true spiritual transition, of true spiritual enlightenment, and understanding what you need to do in order to achieve that. And as many of you have learned, it is not easy, because this world wants to drag you back into it at all costs. So I will post this article so you can read it in the chat box. And I will tell you that that from a technological standpoint, any of these websites that have these articles. This is from The Hill, which is a fairly political website. The amount of advertising and the experience on going to any of these websites is awful. Everyone at these companies should be fired. For the sake of ads and making money, they are throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It is ridiculous to try to read an article. There's so many pop-ups and popovers, and literally this website itself has more than 400 cookies that it uses. So, I mean, if I ran the show at that place, I'd fire everybody on the staff that runs this website, but that's here nor there. I see a question here that A10 Foot Sloth says, does the Bible have lies in it? It's a good question. Yes and no. What I'm going to tell you right now is the single most important thing for you to recognize about this planet in general and the existence that we live in. As I've said, it's a binary system. So everything that is truthful is manipulated. All of the truth is there, and all of the lie is also there. The lie is basically understood within your mind. You accept the lie, that a statement can have the truth and the lie in the same statement. It's all in how you interpret it. And for the most part, it's how you were raised to see things. That your vision of the world is dictated by the conditions of the world, the media, the things you consume, and more importantly, our parents and how we are raised and taught to see things. And our parents don't manipulate you intentionally. They simply follow the guidelines of the world. And this is why it's so easy to see how deceived most religions are today, because it's how they have perceived things. And this is why Christ said, for indeed, and he was quoting Isaiah, for indeed they will see, but they will not perceive, and they will hear, but they will not understand. Now, that statement is articulating quite clearly the conditions that we have today, because they're the same. When you read a statement, and as I've used the what you want to believe, you will believe. So this is why when anybody, good to see John, Best Damn Podcast. Hey, John, congratulations. Your channel is rocketed. You've got over 5,000 subs in just a short period of time. Very good. Congratulations to you. If you haven't subscribed to John's channel, I suggest you do so. John's a great guy. He's got some great content and definitely one that is seeking after truth nonstop. Good to see Scrub in the house. So the way that I always try to explain this is how you want to perceive something, you're going to perceive it. And this is why I tell everybody that, you know, those that attack me and call me a Gnostic Luciferian or what have you, it's their perception of the word. If I don't perceive it the same way that they do, well, then I'm their enemy. But on the reverse of that, they're not my enemy for not perceiving it. So that in lies the fruit of it. That's the fruit, that I can still love them. They don't love me. They absolutely hate me. That's why they call me Satan. And this is exactly what was taking place with Christ. So thanks, moderators, for cleaning up the house. It looks like that we have quite a busy show. So during the 9/11 Commission, as many of you have probably heard me say, is that when they were asked about the buildings being demolished through demolition, the response was that they found no evidence of explosives at ground zero. So no evidence of explosives at ground zero. They found none. So people want to perceive, okay, well, hey, they weren't blown up. Great. It wasn't an inside job. But the reality of it is there was absolutely evidence of explosives at ground zero. There are many independent studies and many people that took and received the dust And what they found within that dust was the evidence of the presence, and a lot of it, of something called nanothermite. Nanothermite is made at one place, one location on Earth, is possessed by one organization, and that's the CIA. And that location is the Los Alamos Laboratories, where they developed the nuclear weapon. So yes, there was explosive material at Ground Zero, but he could be 100% honest in saying that they found no evidence of explosives at Ground Zero. The reason why he could say that and be completely honest is because it's the truth. They didn't find any evidence of explosives at Ground Zero simply because they never looked. They didn't look because they knew its presence was there. But in order to maintain a truthful statement where somebody could sit before and on a lie detector test and be honest and pass that test is by making the statement, the truth and the lie at the same time. It's how you understand it. It's how you perceive it. So Tracy Cooper Writer asked, Derek, how will Christ come as a thief? I'm very confused about this. Well, let me help your confusion. It says Christ will come as a thief in the night. Now, what does that mean? When a thief in the night comes, you don't know the thief was there until you've woken up the next morning and all that is valuable is already gone. And the thief is also not present anymore. So it's speaking of this, that Christ will come as a thief in the night, and most won't even recognize that Christ had come until after he and his body are gone, and you're left with nothing of value. I hope that helped. See if I can find anybody has any other questions. As I said, try to put all the questions in all caps. I believe, a different I believe, with a I instead of the I, says Sunday church or Sabbat. Well, that question should be answered within yourself. Every single day is church, since you're the church, you're the temple, the kingdom resides within you. So every day and every minute is church. Somebody asked me why I don't pray when I open up a video. And I said, just because I pray differently than you, what makes you think I'm not in prayer? Pray without ceasing. I'm in prayer as we speak. So Maiden Marian says, hi, Derek, thank you. For those of us who see spirits without bodies, hear frequencies, looks like harassment of animals, mine and those around me, all breathing beings. How do I clear? Not quite sure understanding the question, but how do you clear? I'm not quite sure. If you could re-ask the question maybe in a different way and help me understand what it is. Shane LeBlanc says, please talk about fear blinds us. Well, fear does blind you. Fear is blinds you in every way, shape, and form because you're trying to avoid things. Fear is used to manipulate the entire world, which is why the government follows the Masonic ways of order out of chaos. They create chaos and fear and destabilize things so they can then come in with the solution. So it's as though they create, and they actually do this, create the disease and the vaccine for the disease at the same time. So they create panic with the disease and then tell you how awesome they are for coming in with a vaccine for it. This is how they keep you in a stranglehold and keep you bound in chains and keep you feeling like the government is the most important thing in the world. The rulers of this world are the enemies, as everybody knows, I think by now. And I think that you're starting to see the distractions of this ridiculous argument about the wall. And you see exactly what they do. They create a problem. It's a really big problem, right? The border's a huge problem. That there are terrorists coming in and They're trying to kill everybody, and they're bringing in disease, and they're running people over, and they're killing people because they're illegal. That's nonsense. And they're arguing over $15 billion for a wall. These people print money from nothing. It costs them nothing to print money. We have more than $21 trillion in stated debt, more than $200 trillion in unstated and unfunded liabilities in this country alone. And they say they have a problem increasing their spending limits. They don't have any problems. All of that is a deception. All of it is a lie. All of it is intended to create instability. And believe me, this combined with what's happening in the Middle East is a precipice for World War III. The distraction that they're doing with this wall is clearly a distraction. This is how they operate. Redbird says, you decide, free will. So let me ask you this question, Redbird, because this is a question that I ask people all the time. When you say that you have free will, but yet Scripture tells you that you need to follow the will of God, do you really have free will? Or do you just have the freedom to choose which God you're serving? That's the only free will you have. Because if you're not following the will of the Father, you're following the will of the enemy. So Nothing Stranger says, will Satan take the Vatican throne or the temple? Both. Both. What's going to take place with this new altar and the building of the third temple in Jerusalem will be a divide between Muslims within themselves. It will be a divide between with those in Judaism, and it'll be a divide within Christianity. There will be many Christians that will follow the Zionist way of the Jews that are building the altars and think it's good and godly. There will be another set of Christians that will be disgusted with it because they believe that Christ was the final sacrifice and that they shouldn't be sacrificing anything else. And so the Christians will be divided. Islam will be divided because they will be building this third temple, essentially pushing Islam out. There will be some that believe that they should be uniting under that banner in Islam and some that don't, because you have some that are waiting for the Mahdi, and they will be impressed by this ruler that comes in to create the peace because they will see him as the Mahdi. And then those in Judaism that, as you heard me speak about in the other video the other day, have taken on a much higher degree of spirituality. And their understanding of this is that they understand for the most part. In fact, this is why many Jews today, in fact, the vast majority of people in Israel, if you go to Israel and you speak to any of the Israelis, I bet you didn't know that about 95% of Israelis don't even believe in God. It's a staggeringly high number. They believe in themselves. So they are actually closer to the truth than those that believe in the God of the Old Testament. The God of the Old Testament is clearly Yahweh. Jehovah is not the Father. Period. Full stop. I believe, says Derek, Kirk wants to tell you, thank you. You have changed his life. Well, tell Kirk I said thank you, and he should thank himself. I didn't do anything. He's the one that had to hear it. Betty McLean says, are there holes in other dimensions? Yes, there is absolutely a crack in the magnetosphere. We are witnessing a dimensional collapse at different points in times and at different places and at different times on the planet itself. This is what is helping to awaken or enlighten people. They are becoming awake to the truth that is already written on them. So it's the way, this is the way of the time. The Mayans understood this when they spoke of the 2012 calendar. Many people believe that the because of the alteration of the calendar, that 2012 is actually right now and wasn't years ago. There is a lot going on. Somebody saying, Naughty, time for a video, because is Naughty in the house? Excuse me. If people keep asking me, sending me emails about Naughty. So Naughty, if you're in the house, let everybody know that you're okay. Probably got 100 emails asking about how you are. I'm sure Naughty is okay. Naughty has a tendency to do these things. You know, he's had many channels. He sometimes has, I don't know, kind of an enlightenment meltdown and deletes his channel and then comes back. So just keep loving on him. So let me see. Crystal Light, do you believe we are able to directly help spirits cross or find Yeshua in the Father? Yes, I do. Those spirits that are in other people, you can help guide them. You can help lead them. I primarily say that it is done by your example. To try to have the conversation with somebody before they've seen the results is probably not a good thing. Let them see the results of your happiness. Let them see you be at peace. And then let them ask you how you're doing that. Because once they want that, that's the water spoken of. The water that when you drink of it, you'll never thirst again. Online boss lady says, hey, Derek, when did you think the big event will happen in the States? Fall of government. And when does that come to Europe? I don't ever do predictions of dates or times. I can just tell you right now that I believe the realization, kind of like 9/11, the date being so startling as an emergency or transition. So there's many different meanings to these things from a math standpoint, gematria, and they follow these types of things. I can tell you that I believe that the year 2020, you will see many things clearly as in 2020 vision. So what you will see, I'm not going to pretend to predict. I would stay away from those things because the translation of how they do things, I don't think there is any single one event that they have planned for a specific date. I believe that things are planned and that they can happen in multitudes of ways. Many different events are scheduled for the same time. One will be executed. Which one of those, we do not know. But I can tell you that there will be a collapse of the economic systems. It will start with the collapse of the United States dollar because it is the foundational backing currency for all the other currencies on earth. Even though there are different countries that are making waves and saying that they're going to pull away from the United States dollar, the reality is they can't. The debt is too large. The dollar is too cheap. We print it too easily. We're willing to accept the debt too easily. This is where Scripture and Revelation speaks of drinking of the abominations of the whore of Babylon. Those abominations that we've convinced others to drink of is the dollar and the banking system that we have. Freedom Grower says, have you ever heard that 2012 is actually 2020 according to the Ethiopian oldest calendar? Yes, I have. And I believe that there's quite a bit of truth to that. The Mayan calendar of 2012 is the end of the long count. So the end of the long count is considered the astrological count, the end of the long count, where the end of the age comes. This will be the end of the ages. The end of all of them. Nothing Stranger says, Global Witness, do I get to take as many as I want with me when we go? Let me try to explain this. There are no short answers to questions. When people want very quick answers, they'll say, just a yes or no answer. There's no such thing. And if somebody is looking for answers in such a way, well, I usually say that this is not Burger King. You can't have it your way. Wisdom doesn't work that way. That if that there are many souls attached to yours. So in the scheme as shown by the ancient Egyptian mystery schools, that the souls were cut up, as I've said, like a starfish, that many are attached to you. So only one of you have to make it, and you save the rest. So in all of us is Christ. In all of us is a Savior. Todd Garfield, Derek, no nightmares for 5 days now. That's awesome. If you're having nightmares, then you should be questioning why you're not at peace. Because if you're having nightmares, then that means that somewhere still inside you, you're still scared of something. Fear is not of the Father at all. And you should know that you're a child of the Most High. You are a child of the Father. You are already an eternal being. You're dumping that fear. You're leaving that behind. You're filling that with love, with gratitude, with grace, with peace. And you're ignoring fear. Because why? Fearful of what? Dying? Bring it on. Scrub, what about no dreams? Even better, Scrub. Even better. Dreams are manipulated by the enemy. It's all about frequency. What books do I recommend? I would, depending on where you're at in your walk, where you're at in your spiritual walk. Obviously, I'll always tell you to stick to the red letters of Christ, because he wasn't telling you what the church is telling you. He was telling you something quite different. He was telling you things like I'm speaking to you about. So I would read the red letters of Christ primarily. I said, I'll tell people all the time, if you had to throw away every single book in the Bible and only had one to take with you, that would be the book of John. So you read it with new eyes. The Nag Hammadi texts are also very, very good, depending on, again, where you're at within your walk. If you want to understand how the Old Testament texts were essentially plagiarized quite dramatically, I would say get the Lost Book of Enki, and you will see that these texts far outdate the text from Moses, but tell you the same stories. Oh, I see the Cummings in the house. Very good to see you. Letting go and being love and free, they said. Yes, absolutely. So will the son of perdition come before 2020? Well, let's just say the son of perdition is already here. Will you know about him before 2020? That's the question. So I would say you could look forward to getting to know exactly who that is. So Gorgeous Awesome says, David Icke versus Global Witness. Who gets to talk? David's the guest on my show. I'm going to ask him questions, and I would like David to talk. And if David wants to ask me a question, then he'll ask me a question. I'm sure he might find the way that I see things interesting. So it's just going to be an open discussion. But if David wants to talk the entire time, I'm completely happy with that. So Sarah Farfan says, Derek, how do you die to this world? You don't understand. I don't understand, she says. What is important to you? Answer those questions. What is important to you in this world? Take everything, even the things that seem that they're intimate to you, and throw them out for a moment. Now, let me explain to you what I mean by that. Even how you feel about family, even how you feel about your children, everything. The reason why that is necessary is because if any of you have ever heard me say, empty your cup, because if your cup has a distortion of understanding of even how you're supposed to be with your children, then the wisdom that the Father grants you cannot be inserted into you without it being polluted with what you already have in your cup. So if you had a cup that was half full of milk and you said, give me some water, well, then the water that I gave you that was truth would then become clouded with the milk that is already in your cup. So in order for you to distinguish what is truthful, you empty your cup. And if what you already knew was true once this is filled with water, the water will also contain the truth of what you previously knew. So you don't need to worry about abandoning anything. You only abandon it so you can hear and rehear the wisdom from the Father. So you abandon your original thoughts. And dying to this world is dying to everything that you thought was important, because it's just simply not important. If you think your car is important, it's not. If you think all of that stuff that you have housed in your garage, think about this. Think about how much stuff you have accumulated and how meaningless it is, but yet you fight to maintain it. I am getting a call from a very old friend. Haven't spoken to him about 7 years. I'm going to have to call him back, though. But he's a very powerful agent in Hollywood, and something just told me to call him and reach out. And so he's calling me back. Christ said, I came for those that are sick, not those that are well. So those of you who would ask me, why would you talk to those sinners? So Atiana Marie says, oh, hey, I finally caught you live. I haven't seen your name in the chat room before, so welcome. So Tabby Callahan says, hi, Derek, can you please touch on overcoming the natural man and being caught between the old life and new Christ life? Well, that's really what I was just speaking of in dying to the world, that overcoming the natural man being the flesh man that wants things of this world, that seeks things, that lusts after things. You have to shrink away from that. In order for you to actually hear the Father's voice, you have to ignore the things that you think you need. That's why, to me, prison was so helpful, because I was isolated. And most of the time, at the beginning, we were on 24-hour lockdown. So I was relegated to, 6x9 cell, fed in the cell, never had to leave. All I had was a Bible and me. And from time to time, I had a cellmate. And they respectfully stayed on their bunk and were quiet and to themselves. Occasionally they'd work out, and occasionally I would work out. But I realized that I needed none of the things that I thought I needed. And I realized that the true value of what I always sought was already in me, that I could be completely happy, joyful, content, being uncomfortable, locked up. So put yourself in prison. As crazy as that sounds, put yourself in a prison for a little while. When Christ said, deny yourself, pick up your cross, that's what he's talking about. Deny yourself. What does prison do? It denies everything. Everything. Everything you previously had, that's gone. All of it. Let me see. Isabel says, Derek is a dream Sally for newbie who are new to system in prison. Yeah, all of my Sallys are still friends with me today. So I love them very much. They're very, very good people. Let me see, try to get down to Hambone says, been there, know exactly what you're saying, brother. Thanks for joining tonight. So Irving Flores says, what do you think about the way we eat nowadays and how some religions don't eat pork? Well, I'm going to always point to the words of Christ and what Christ was speaking about. And so Christ said, do you not understand that what goes into the mouth goes into the stomach and then is expelled, but it's what comes out of your mouth that defiles you? Because he's speaking purely of the spiritual. Now, I also believe that eating meat also definitely has an energy pattern that is conducive to the archons of the world. So that doesn't mean I'm not telling you not to eat meat, that every day you're going to, and you're not going to be able to avoid being a participant in some way of the Archon's system, because it permeates so much of your ability to live in this life. This is why you have to take the time. This is where a Sabbath comes from. Take the time, separate yourself from the world in all things. Fasting, remembering that fasting is the satiation of putting something in your mouth and acknowledging the flesh's request for it, right? So when you fast, you ignore the flesh's request for something to eat. You ignore it. That is a very valuable lesson, beginning to teach yourself to ignore the things of the flesh. So that's what fasting truly is intended to do, is to help you separate. And through that, what seemingly small little demonstration is very powerful for you spiritually. The fasting can help unclutter your mind, getting rid of the sugars in your system, getting rid of the digestive aspects of your body that actually do create chemical situations in your body. So some people call it Kundalini. Some people call these energies different things. But the reality of it is cleansing your body. I suggest drinking distilled water. Absolutely helps cleanse your body of those chemicals, helps cleanse your body and uncalcify the glands within your brain, your pineal gland, to help you see spiritually a little bit better, but that's not required. Let me see. Darla Dawn 222. Do energetic parasites have a physical counterpart in the physical, i.e. intestines? You know, there is a video that I made speaking about parasites. I do believe that we have a physical parasite in us that cannot be detected. Now, I go into that video. I would suggest watching that video because that's going to give you some information about exactly what goes on. But there are also other parasites. Morgellons is something that has taken place today that I believe are archonic parasites. There's no question about it that there is something far more to that. And changing the frequency of your spirit can cure many ailments. Remember that love covers an abundance of sin. So love being expressed through your body can actually kill sin in your body, which causes sickness and disease. Your pH will change. Your physical body will begin to change when you change your spiritual body. Jijo, garbage in, garbage out. What comes in also comes out. It comes out and manifests itself in many different ways. I know many people that bring upon themselves physical ailments because of the sin that they have in their life. People that speak awful things and say things and know they do and can't stop themselves from saying it will cause themselves to get throat cancer, mouth cancer, things like that. We cause the disease. We are literally trying to shut ourselves up. And in many cases, our own misery, we're trying to kill ourselves. We're trying to die to it. So this is why I speak of dying to this world and becoming alive spiritually is what Christ spoke of. You will extend your life and you will live out the days of your life intended in this flesh, and you will accomplish your destiny. Scroll down, try to get to a few more questions. So Damien says, why didn't we learn this at school? My God, it would have woke us up. Well, obviously, schools aren't run by the Father, right? They're run by the power structures of the world, and they want to keep you enslaved. So, yes, it certainly would have been much easier, wouldn't it have been? Let me try to... Gordon McWhorter says, Angels Camp update, refinement centers. Angels Camp update. It sounds like that Angels Camp is doing extremely well. I'll if you go to Gordon's channel, Gordon, you guys can post a video update. It's probably good for people to see what's going on there. Maybe put together a video and help people understand what that is. Refinement Center, still, it's going to take a little bit. I'm still looking for the proper property that would be equipped appropriately for it. And then obviously we'll have to fund the down payment of that or fund a way to get it. So I just leave that in Father's hands, and that'll happen as it's supposed to happen. That's why you hands out. I've got nothing. I can't do anything. Father has to do it. So when it's time, it'll be time. Irving Flores, what about cannabis? I believe that, first of all, I don't have any problem with anybody doing anything, with the exception of anything that interferes with your connection with the Father. Anything at all. So if your use of cannabis is helping you physically, which I believe it does, then you should use that. But understand that anything in this world, anything at all, can be used and caused to keep you from the Father. So even church, because they have allowed going to church to take the place of them actually doing something and fulfilling their spiritual needs, that they feel like, okay, I've done my part. It's like the currency system. You feel like you put your money in the bucket. You've bought your forgiveness of sin. You've bought your repentance. I've participated for the week. I went to church Sunday and Wednesday night. I'm good. Well, Keith Green, the singer Keith Green, who died in a plane crash, has a song, "To Obey is Better Than Sacrifice." I need more than Sundays and Wednesday nights, because if you can't come to me every day, then don't bother coming at all. That's the lyric. So if you look that up, you'll enjoy that song. To obey is better than sacrifice. And again, there's that sacrifice again. Wendy Burns says, Derek, what is your take on public school systems as opposed to homeschooling? I have many issues with public schools, like locks on doors, for one example. I think the public school systems are as corrupt as the political offices in this country and every other country in the world. So my opinion of them is not very good. I would say if you can homeschool your children, certainly do so. Let me see. Jennifer, can we defend ourselves against the enemy? You certainly can. You can defend yourself against the enemy, and that is done by maintaining your spirituality. And what that means in many different ways is when somebody says something that angers you, the mere fact that it angered you, it changed you. So that person's archonic behavior is being utilized against you. That's an attack. Ignoring that it made you upset. Walking away from that. Stop allowing anything to bother you. All of it. Because it clouds your mind. It is begging you to eat from the tree of good and evil again. The middle way is between the two. That is the passerby. Be a passerby. Observe things and understand where the enemy is and where the enemy lies. That's how you defend yourself. What about forced vaccines? Sickening. Absolutely sickening. Forced vaccines are complete garbage. And what's in those vaccines is suspect. Derek, can you discuss Kundalini energy and the Holy Spirit? I would say that those are one and the same. That energy is that you allow to connect you to the divine. Some people call that Kundalini. Some people call that the Holy Spirit. Derek, please explain the yin and the yang, two sides of the coin. Thank you, anonymous guitarist. The yin and the yang, black and white, good and evil, right? The middle way is that little tiny line in between the black and the white of the yin and the yang. The two sides of the same coin, good and evil in this 3D construct are both one and the same. There is no such thing as good and evil except in this existence. So when you are accepting one, you're accepting the other. You're accepting both of them, which is why Adam and Eve were told to eat of the tree of good and evil. That was the fall. That's the whole parabolic aspect of that story. that as long as you believe you know the difference between good or evil and you're picking a side, then you are claiming yourself attached to this physical existence that you believe in good and evil. Is there good and evil here? Yes. Unfortunately, you don't know the difference because they're both run by the same archonic people. They create the good so they can create the evil. They create the evil so they can create the good. This is the Masonic order of chaos. Same thing. They create the good, they create the bad. That's this existence. If you want to be free of this world, you flee yourself of allowing those things to impact you. Not being fearful of any of those things. Let them do it. You sit by yourself. That's Buddha under the tree by himself. Let me see. Atiana Marie says, Lands of America has a lot of cheap land for sale. My family and I are moving from South Carolina to Arizona. There's a lot of cheap land here in Arizona. No question. You can buy 40 acres in some places for $1,500. And just to even have it, to have a place to go is good. So somebody said, Derek, you know we're in hell, right? This is a death system. Everything in this world dies. Everything. Right? It just renews itself. It turns back into dust and then comes back. Turns back into dust and then comes back. The only thing on this earth that doesn't die is water. You must be born of water, eternal, and the Spirit. So think about this. There isn't a single person on this planet that doesn't have a particle of the blood of every one of the prophets, of even Jesus. So think about this for a second. That there is no more water or no less water on this planet, in this existence, than there ever has been. It stays here. It never leaves. So, the water that was pumping through the blood in the veins of everybody that's ever existed on earth is in your veins now. Interesting. Hey, Tom, who is your father? The father of all. Who's yours? Darla Dawn 222, having so many synchronicities lately. Yes, that's the beautiful part about kind of the ascent. When you begin to ascend, you're going to begin to recognize things in a very different way. Blood types, do archons have anything to do with Rh negative? Hawk Healer asks. Only here in this 3D existence. It only matters to the archons. It doesn't matter to us spiritually. Regardless of what blood type you have, it's not going to stop you or prevent you from being who you are, because that is the soul, the spirit in you. The narrow and the few. There is nothing new under the sun. Absolutely. Good to see the San Francisco Bay Area here. A10 Foot Sloth 18. Do other planets exist? I believe they do, but I believe that they are all devices and actual beings. Jesus' symbol is a fish, not a cross. I can tell you, I would stay away from all forms of symbols when it comes to that. Christ never drew a fish in the sand. Neither did he draw a cross. The cross is the cross in you. That's your own cross. That's dying to the existence in this world, dying to the need, dying to this flesh. For some, it will require you to actually physically die. Some people will actually be killed for it, just as Christ said. Some may be required to stay. And this is where Christ would say, what is it to you whether I ask John to stay or to stick around or to go with me? So each one of us have our own path. Let me see. Is the Black Army real? Yes, it is. So Freedom Grower says, how is God the Father spirit, but Mother Earth is physical? Well, the whole thing is Mother Earth physical? Stretch your mind for a minute and think about this. Is that a manifestation of something that is physical from something that is spiritual, is something that we've done constantly. So if the power of Mother was so powerful and the archons could, let's just say, incarcerate her, then she would be incarcerated here. That these are energies. Everything is sound. Everything is vibration. So think of this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. That Word is sound. So I'll tell you this, if Mother and Father stop humming, everything ceases to exist. Faithful Witness says, choose the way of love and forgiveness. Yes, forgive all things, even forgive the enemy. Because once you can fully understand that and you can forgive even Satan, then you can finally forgive yourself entirely. Obi-Wan, can somebody invite me to Discord, please? Obi-Wan, I seem to think that you've had some opposition. Why would you want to be in Discord? I'm just asking. Let me see. Derek, where do you draw the line between comments and gossip? Gossip is nonsense. Gossip is talking about somebody. You should never be having a conversation about anybody unless they're present. We're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of this. You should never have a conversation about anybody unless they're present. That's how you avoid gossip. Ken Connor, good to see Ken here. Terry asked a very important question. I accidentally erased it. Terry, can you re-ask the question? I can go back up and try to find it, and I can reveal it. Black spot, Terry. Sorry about that. I know it's hard when this thing's moving, Ken, to do something. Sometimes I've accidentally blocked people I didn't intend to block. So let me see. Weston Smith, Derek, do you believe you have a message to give? I wouldn't be on here if I didn't. This is the last thing that I wanted to do. Let me see. Super love, Papa Derek from Gordon. Super love back, Gordon. This is moving so quick here. So what is the Black Army? Well, that'd be called the Men in Black, right? So even though I can't agree with their color choice of clothing, just so anybody has that question, I wear black. This is called sackcloth. It's mourning. Because obviously the world, as I've articulated in this video earlier, the world is in deep, deep, deep trouble. So this is mourning for those that are lost. Black Army is the, lots of people asking, what is the Black Army? So the, I believe over 1,000 in the room. Oh, hey, we got 1,000 in the room right now. Great. Everyone looking to witness the truth. That's a blessing. And I thank all of you for that. The channel passed 50,000 subscribers this morning. So I wanted to thank all of you. It's, this is your message as well. Let me just, somebody just boot out, not you, would you please? No room for that kind of crap. So, yes, 360 actually 386 likes. Hit the thumbs up button. Black Army. So let me try to explain this. Is that all of the structures of the Earth, all of the power structures of this Earth, as indicated by the obelisks that represent their capitals. As I've said many times, they don't have the same obelisks with the same dimensions because they all like the same architecture. These are different countries all around the world. Obviously, they have different architecture. So each one of those have what I would call a secret army to make sure that all of those countries execute in a timely fashion the things that they need to execute upon, because they all work together. Every single one of these countries has become so dependent upon each other. They all are managing the same thing. You don't think that the French Masons sent us the Statue of Liberty as a thank you, right? It's because the Statue of Liberty representing an ancient goddess. That Statue of Liberty is given by the Masons. It is run by the Jesuits. The Jesuits run all of this. So it is the Jesuits that run the Black Armies. And they make sure that the countries and the leaders of these countries stay in line. The obelisks are what they believe, the Masons believe, because each one of those obelisks are very specific dimensions. They are intended to utilize the energy of the system. They are all established on very specific places within the ley lines. And they serve a demonic purpose. They do not serve a good one. Finest Planet says, how's my mohawk coming, Derek? Mohawk's gone. It's nothing but bald. I shave it. I can't stand having to deal with hair. The reason why I usually have something covering my head, again, this is a reminder that I've removed the crown of thorns off my head. The crown of thorns being the barbed wire, the fence, the relegating of your mind to a prison. That's why they put it back on Christ. The crown of thorns represented you are not allowed to think outside how we tell you to think. Winnie Burns said Ishtar. Yes, among other names that she went by. Irving Flores, Derek, do you get mad? How do you handle it? I would say that I get mad. I don't get angry anymore. It's not anger. It's I find more of a disgust for the enemy and for how he establishes in people. I find a true sadness, and sometimes I think that sadness can be interpreted as intensity or anger, but I don't allow myself to get angry. And Malia would testify to this, that I don't, she's seen me in circumstances where ordinarily I'd get angry. And sometimes if I do, I immediately put a squash to it, immediately. Sorry, somebody was sneaking up on me here. Stealth Drone Tech. Hey, it's been a while since I've seen you. Yes, amen. It's a daily control not to let anger well its evil head. Yes, it's daily. Just like I said, just immediately if you get angry, just turn away, walk away from it, and recognize that anger comes from nonsense. It doesn't serve the purpose at all. It will do nothing but add misery to that circumstance, whatever that circumstance is. Hold each thought captive. Bernard Bearded Canuck says, hold each thought captive, make right decision on how to respond. Yes. And judgment, judging others is not a way to do that. Judging whether you should be, so using right judgment means judging whether you should be a participant in that, judging whether you should be angered by that. People go, oh, well, there's righteous judgment. Nonsense. Righteous judgment, judging rightly, is judging whether you should participate, whether that should make you angry. And the answer is, in many cases, if that person's evil, if that person's making you angry, don't participate. Walk away from it. Turn away. Who Are You said, can we get out of the reincarnation cycle in advanced dimensions? That's exactly what we're talking about. So yes, the answer is yes. So Lou asked, Derek, will the mark of the beast be more than one thing? A chip, Saturday worship? The mark of the beast, this is where we are relegated to a single explanation for something. This is why when I tell people, when they want to debate scripture, they want to debate faith. Think about that. Faith is the belief in something unseen, and yet somebody wants to argue about it. So their argument about it, or saying you're wrong or you lie, you can't lie about scripture, actually. If you believe in the way that you've been shown to understand it, then it's truthful. They will only say it's a lie if they want to ignore what you said. And this is why people become obsessed with attacking me, because they would really like to ignore the things that I've said, but they can't. They can't get it out of their mind because it's part of them. And so they are obsessed with attacking me, trying to reinforce their previous belief system again. So the mark of the beast will be many things. The mark of the beast is the dollar in your hand or in your pocket right now. That is the image of the beast. The image of the beast is what is represented. If you wanted to track the beast system all the way down, you can find that its major component on how it has permeated our lives comes down to money, a false value, a lie. Irving Flores, should we really take care of this body? If you can, sure, because when you feel better physically, you can feel better spiritually. Catherine Willie said, he might sound angry because he's trying to get these things out to you. Christ screamed these truths well. Yes, like I said the other day when I was explaining, his frustration is palpable in the scriptures. Palpable. When he says, how long must I bear with you? That's a frustration. He's like, why can't you get this? Have you been with me for so long and you still don't know what I'm saying? He was very frustrated. And that's when that guy said to him, if you can, have compassion on me and my family and help my son. And he said, if you can, with an exclamation mark, right? If you can. His frustration was, don't you know these things? It's you that does it, not him. By your faith, you are healed. Tina asks, how do we finish in prayer? Why finish praying? If you pray without ceasing, why do you even have to finish it? See, this is, again, dying to this world is recognizing that every single rule or law of this world has put you in a box where you feel like you have to end or do something. Why do you have to end it? Why does there have to be something said that signifies an ending to something? Just that question alone, that simple little thing. Think about the literally thousands upon thousands of things that we do in ritual, in doctrine. It's a doctrine. It's a programming. How many things have you been programmed to do? Bust your programming. Break it. Stop doing everything like you did before. Teach yourself to be unique, to be new, to live new. Try something different. And if you feel like that you have to end it so everybody knows that it's time to, to not bow their head, then just say, so be it. So can I talk about Abraham and Melchizedek? And if the father told him to sacrifice his son, father did not tell him to sacrifice his son. And the irony of that story is this, that Abraham, as he's going to sacrifice his son, it says Satan appeared. Now, Satan only meaning adversary. So adversary to who? Adversary to the God that told him to sacrifice his son. And this old man beautifully and gently and peacefully and lovingly tells Abraham, the father would never ask you to sacrifice your son. And in that Bible, they call that old man Satan. Think about how twisted this is. So, Super Heart Org Foundation, Global Witness, do you believe in Allah? So Allah is simply a different name for God. Now, again, you're speaking about translations. It's like somebody coming up to me and asking me if I'm a Christian. I can't answer in the affirmative whether I'm a Christian to somebody because I don't know what they believe a Christian is. There's 30,000 plus denominations of Christianity. Which one would that be? Which variation of God do you think God is? What is Allah to you might not be Allah to me. This is where the truth that resides in you becomes your own truth. Answering questions about, do I believe in XYZ? Well, I don't know what you think XYZ is. I don't know who you think Allah is. I can tell you what the words mean, but do you understand the words in the way that I understand them? So this is the difficult thing. Muslim means dedicated servant of God. So if that's the definition, am I a dedicated servant of God? Well, if it's the Father that I worship, well, yes, then I would be a dedicated servant of God. I would be Muslim, if that's what the definition of the word means. But the difference is my variation of what a Muslim means might be quite different from that of a Muslim. So this is where we have problems. These are the divides. Somebody said, Father doesn't like sacrifice. No, he doesn't. Just like Christ said, go learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, when he spoke of the Father. So, Tony Lee, will I have another meet in the desert? I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything right now. I haven't been indicated that I'm supposed to do anything right now, other than prepare for the refinement center and raise the funds for that. So that's where I'm at. Let me see here. Aru Mazda, Countess C says, many people have seen Aru Mazda as Christ. So yes, different understandings of this, of the Spirit of Christ has been articulated in lots of different ways, and Aru Mazda would have been one of them. Catherine Marsh says, worldwide caliphate goal doesn't seem a positive for humanity, particularly women. No, but again, I'm going to tell you right now, as I've also read the Quran, I also spoke and taught many Muslims in prison. I can tell you right now that in reading the words, it's always the translation. It's always the understanding. The words don't have to change. It's the way that it has been taught and the way that it is understood by those that follow it, which becomes problematic. Again, everything taken from the spiritual and made into the physical translates to very, very bad mojo. James, is it important to expose the Zionists and Jesuits? It is, but it's not so important that you abandon your focus on yourself and your spiritual walk. Because as people automatically begin altering their spiritual walk, the energy shifts. They will expose themselves. So let me try to get to these, go so quickly. Seeker's Journey. Am I blocked and why? If I can read your word there, Seekers, you're not blocked. Let me see here, try to get to some more of your questions. Seekers, I see you. So we have a lot of new people in the room. I see a lot of new names that I haven't seen before. So welcome everybody to the channel. If you're just a new subscriber, I appreciate you coming. And if you haven't, at the I will put it. You can look at my playlists. I have the Alpha Omega playlist of all of my videos starting from day one. I suggest watching that. You're going to gain a lot of many of the questions that are asked here. I answer throughout those videos, and it will be quite beneficial for you to watch. Thoughts on Hermetic principles? I would say if you read the Hermetic principles and you begin to understand them, you're going to see that they're just like the principles that Christ spoke of. Cosmic Lighting says the Alpha Omega playlist has been a blessing. Yes, I believe that watching it in order, it's going to be helpful to you. If you haven't, I suggest you do so. Can I talk about the two witnesses in Revelation? I'll tell you what the two witnesses are. Again, binary system. So the two witnesses were represented. There's not going to be one single thing or two specific people. The two witnesses are two different things. The God of the Old Testament and the Father in the New. Two witnesses. The Old Testament and the New Testament. Two witnesses. The masculine and the feminine coming together. Two witnesses. Enoch, Elijah, what they represented, who they represented, represent two witnesses. So there are multiple variations of it. And the beast that rises up to kill the two witnesses are the system. So they're going to kill the two witnesses, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And in doing so, rising up from that will become a new understanding, a new truth, seeing 2020, seeing clearly, all things being revealed, apocalypse meaning the revealing. So in order for you to understand the truth, this is the proverbial emptying of the cup. The lie and the truth that have been combined, the God of the Old Testament, the God of the New being revealed, all of these things is a emptying of the cup of what you previously thought was true and understanding that, and then a revealing of that. That's them rising up, that as the beast kills them, because they're going to kill it. That's how you would have a unified religion. That's what the intent is for them to unify you under a single world religion, a new world order. That's their intent. So there's a lot of meat there, and that's a big issue to cover. But Angel Camp can use washer and dryer, refrigerator, freezer. Thanks, much love. I think I might be able to help you guys out with that. But if anybody has any, contact Gordon, and you can donate that to the camp. So the Narrow and the Few says, what exactly is the moon? Is it an enemy of humanity? I would say that it's a device. It manipulates the water on this planet, considering that the vast majority of you is water. You are being manipulated by it. The ancient term for the moon was sin or leaven. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. I would say that the moon is a big problem. And the moon is established by the enemy. Irving Flores, are tattoos bad? And what about females wearing jeans? Again, I'm not going to make rules. I have a tattoo here. I have a tattoo here. I'm not going to tell you whether they're bad or not. I don't think it really matters that much. Everything in this physical world. But again, going back to what I spoke of earlier, that if anything that interferes with you and the Father, then you stop that or you don't do that. But I would say ink, I don't have any issue with it whatsoever. But that's not for me to create a rule for you. Again, Everybody in this world wants to rule or be ruled, and I'm not here to make any laws. That was the problem with Moses. He gave in to the people. They wanted him to create rules and laws. Yes. Dale Israel says flesh will not inherit the kingdom, so it's irrelevant. If it matters to you, exactly. Yes. Bearded Canuck says the judgments we place on ourselves is what causes the problem, for we judge ourselves. Yes. The Father judges nobody. He's reserved that for the Son. That's you. Your consciousness will be what bears witness against you. That's why getting rid of anything, repenting of your sins, seeking forgiveness. Seeking forgiveness is just trying to cleanse yourself, throwing the backpack of your past life over the cliff, repenting from those things, turning away from them, living a new life. Love is the only law. Yes, it is. Every other law yielded from that. So, baptism, do we or don't we? If you feel being baptized will help you, then certainly be baptized. I've baptized people before. So let me see. Get to one more question. Gordon posted alternative contribution to Angels Camp for those that can help out. The Angels Camp, those are people that have gathered in a single little community out here in Arizona that are part of the Global Witness family. Can you be baptized more than once? Sure you can. When will, Alfred says, when will some of the higher truths be shared, Derek? In Father's time, because some of the truths spoken will require you to witness the things in the world at the same time. So as those things take place, they will then be spoken of. There are many things that I know I've already seen, but when I want to go speak about them, I'm immediately withdrawn from it for some reason. So I pay very close attention to that. I don't want to reveal anything that isn't supposed to be revealed. It's not about me making sure that I post a video or any of that. I don't pay attention to any of that. I do as I'm led to do, and as I'm led to do only. Superheart.org Foundation, Global Witness, question, who is Jesus? Well, Jesus is a made-up name. So that name didn't exist in the Hebrew because obviously the letter J didn't exist in Hebrew until the 1600s. So that was in the addition to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. So the name that people have said is Yeshua, or in the Greek at that time, which they were writing in the Greek. So primarily that would have been the main language that they spoke. So they would have called him Isius or Isu. And some people have said Yeshu, so which is where they get Yeshua. And so who was he? He was a person just like you, just like me, that was given the ability and the authority to speak the things that he spoke. And some would say, well, do you deny he's the Son of God? I'm a son of God. You're a son of God. We're all children. We are all sons of God. Not putting a gender on it, but we are all sons of God. For the lack of language, sons, daughters. But as Christ said, that when you are with the Father, you're neither male nor female, neither giving in marriage, because you are like angels. So there is no gender associated with it. So yes, I would say that Jesus is the Son of God. I would say that you are the Son of God. And this is why they had such a problem with what he said then, and why they have a problem with what I say now, because the church itself has become the Antichrist, denying the very words of Christ, denying that you can actually have Christ in you, which Christ demanded that you have. So let me, one more question before we close out. Who will have a wound to the head and recover? I would say that that wound to the head and recover will be the dollar. The dollar itself will be killed, the economic systems of the world destroyed, and then it will be revived. That's my belief. That's probably one version of many that are also true. So, well, it looks like, I mean, I'm sorry, I know we have a very, very full room. I've got people here waiting to visit with me that I need to go out and meet. So I just want to thank you all for coming today and tell you how much I love you all and tell you not to forget David Icke with me Thursday the 17th, 10:30 a.m. Arizona time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. That will be 5:30 p.m. UK time, so you can figure that out if you're in Europe. Make sure you come to that show. I think David and I are going to have a terrific talk. I think we're gonna get along famously. I spent a lot of time, and I've sent David's books to many, many people in prison because he has a way of waking you up faster than anybody else. He's got a terrific understanding of the ancient texts and a terrific understanding of how this archonic system works. So I look forward to it. I think that you're going to get a lot from our discussion, and I think it's probably a friendship that will last a very long time. I love you very much. I will speak to you soon. I'll see you on Discord hopefully later tonight, and I'll talk to you later.